Hi, welcome everybody. It's Mike Newton back in the fitting studio here at Lytham Golf Academy. I've got a little interesting video comparison here with the TaylorMade M2 3-wood. Okay, now what I see a lot of customers do or golfers do when they're coming for a fitting is they obviously want a 3-wood to go with the driver, but sometimes they just struggle to hit 3-wood and actually get it launching. So obviously the fairway are generally going to be hitting it off the fairway, so the ball's obviously sat on the ground. You've got a club with very little loft and you've got to try and get that perfect strike to actually get it elevated and get it out there at the desired distance that you want. Now obviously with the technology nowadays and the position of the CG in the heads, the technology does help to launch that, but at the end of the day you've still got to get that strike on it. So TaylorMade have actually offered, and most of the brands do this, but I'm just using the TaylorMade for an example today, is they offer a 3-wood obviously in a standard 15-degree loft option, but then they also do a 3HL, okay, which is this one here. And you'll see there that's a 16.5-degree loft. So ultimately it's a little bit like a 4-wood, but they call it a HL. The HL stands for high launch. So that little bit of loft, that extra 1.5 degrees, just makes it a little bit easier for some golfers just to get the ball flighted off maybe those tighter lies on the fairways that sometimes you get. So I'm just going to hit some shots with each of these on the GC2 here. We're just going to see the differences of maybe launch and then also the distance, and just see how much easier it is to get the HL up in the air against possibly the 3-wood. Now personally I don't really struggle on getting the ball up in the air. I've got a bit of speed, so I don't really struggle on this front, but many golfers I find do, maybe with the slower club head speed, they do struggle a little bit. So this might just help you out and possibly give you an idea to maybe go and test this and get fitted and maybe try the slightly more lofted option when you come to try these. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the 15-degree M2. So this is a standard 3-wood loft here. Okay, I've just got this in a stiff flex. Okay, so we're going to hit a batch of shots with this. We'll look at some launch numbers, carry numbers, and then we'll flip over to the HL version. Oh yeah, that's a great shot there. There's no problems getting that one launched. As I say, I don't have the problems of launching this club. Okay, that does feel good, very easy to launch. So possibly against the M1 version, which is obviously a little bit more compact on the head, the M2 is just that little bit easier to launch. Okay, that was a little bit lower in the face of the strike there, but that's still got up and away quite nicely. Easily up there again. Feels lovely, that club. I do like the M2 range, I must admit. This feels very easy to use. Little bit leaky to the right, but again, no problems launching that off the ground. So what I'm going to do here is just flick over to the HL, hit a few shots with that, and then we'll have a look at some numbers. Okay, so I've now got the 3HL in my hand here. So this is the 16.5 loft option as we explained before. Okay, so we're going to hit a batch of shots with this, then we'll have a look at some launch numbers and see how different this performs. Yeah, it's a good strike. Definitely seen a slightly higher launch there. I think it just fills you with a little bit more confidence because you're looking down at a little bit more loft on the club face here. Just fills you with a little bit more confidence. Yeah, definitely noticeable higher ball flight there. Just feel like if I've got a bit of a rotten lie on the fairway or even off the fairway in the semi-rough, it feels like I could get this airborne quite easily, even on a poorer lie. Yeah, very high, very much higher that. Okay, I'll just hit one more. just turned over slightly, but again, very good strike, higher launch. Okay, let's have a look at some numbers. Okay, so let's have a quick look at some numbers here. So I didn't have my HMT stickers on here, so ignore the club head speed here, but the ball speed is quite accurate. So you can see, or very accurate should I say, so you can see the ball speed's down a little bit, which you'd sort of expect, a bit more loft, so you're not going to get as much ball speed there. But definitely seeing a little increase in launch there. So average 12 degrees with a 15 degree 3-wood. 16.5 degree HL, you can see just increase that launch by about just under 1.5 degrees higher on the launch. It's also affected the spin as you'd expect, so 3-wood spinning at 2,800. You can see an extra 1,000 revolutions there with that little bit more loft there. Okay, so that combination launch and touch higher, a touch more loft there. You can see the peak height is higher, 4 yards higher in its peak height. Descends in a little bit steep, and you can see there's obviously a difference of distance there. So 267 on average with a 3-wood, 241 with a HL. Okay guys, so definitely a difference there. You know, the HL, definitely we've seen some higher launch angles there, definitely more spin, which gives a slightly different descent angle as it's coming into land. So maybe through a fit in here, it's maybe looking at how you get the ball launching. Some people, as I said earlier, do struggle to launch it, so that's where the HL might come into it. As I say, I don't struggle, so I got a lot of height with that, which I didn't really like because I don't struggle getting the normal 3-wood up in the air. But obviously for some guys it will help massively. And then you've also got to then plot it in with your drive, you know, how far you're hitting your driver. Sometimes guys hit 3-wood a bit too close to driver in a way, so you haven't got that sort of gap in there, and then it's probably too strong then if they're going into like a 3 rescue or a 4 rescue, then there's too much of a gap between the standard 3-wood and their rescue. So this is where maybe the HL again just gives that better gap in here. So again, it all comes back to the same scenario. You've got to go and get fit here. You know, with a launch monitor, we can see what you're doing with the driver. Maybe look at your rescue, or even if you've got 5-wood in there, 7-wood, I don't know. But you know, let's get that on the monitor, see what that's doing, and plot something in between, and get it specific to you. You know, for your golf course you play at. You know, you might not need the stronger 3-wood. You might just want more of the HL, depending on the length of the holes and the situations you get into out on the golf course. Okay. Good one there. I think not everyone realises the HL options, or these little 4-wood options, are available. Most brands sort of do them nowadays, so definitely worth having a look at. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, just hit the subscribe button, please. You'll get notifications of all the future videos. Follow my social media links, which will be in the description down below. Comment down below, share the video around, and hopefully we'll catch you up very soon.